Hello and welcome to OBG Talk, produced in partnership with the ABS-CBN news channel. I'm Patrick Cooke, Oxford Business Group's regional editor for Asia. Today we're going to talk about infrastructure development within the context of the government's flagship Build, Build, Build programme.
President Rodrigo Duterte was elected in 2016, promising a golden age of infrastructure for the Philippines under his administration's flagship Build, Build, Build program. 75 priority infrastructure projects were identified for completion during his presidency, and public infrastructure spending is forecast to rise from 5.4% of GDP in 2017 to 7.3% of GDP by 2022. Since coming to power, Duterte has shown a clear preference for financing major projects through official development assistance known as ODA and the state budget, limiting the scope for conventional public-private partnerships favored by his predecessor. As a result, the private sector increasingly seeking opportunities to participate in infrastructure pipeline through unsolicited proposals, such as the Makati Subway Project, which was pitched directly to the local government. How much progress has been made so far in the Build, Build, Build program, and is there potential for more private sector involvement going forward?
Joining me to offer his expert insights on this hot topic is Antonio Liu, President and CEO of IRC Properties. Tony, thank you for joining me today.
Thank you, Patrick.
Okay, so first some background, because IRC is better known as a property development company, but recently you've been diversifying into infrastructure development. What prompted this change, and to what extent was it prompted by the Build, Build, Build program itself?
Well, the Makati Intra-City Subway Project is 5 years in the making. And it just happened that we were at the right time, in the right place, with the right people. And IRC is a property company. We are just using the infrastructure diversification as a strategy for the paradigm shift from affordable housing towards building communities alongside the growth of the new subway system.
This is often called the golden age of infrastructure for the Philippines, and the government has shown a clear preference for official development assistance to fund some of the big ticket infrastructure projects in the pipeline. What is your opinion on the effectiveness of ODA funding to speed up infrastructure development here?
Well, ODA has always been a key drivers in infrastructure development of developing countries. The key here is the proper assessment on the details of the ODA, because there's no free lunch. We have to look at what is attached or what is the hidden agenda of the ODA. Assuming everything is at par and transparent, the key of the ODA is in the implementation. If you implement it properly, then I guess it has a very, very big boost to the growth of the GDP of a developing nation.
What do you think of the risks involved? You mentioned debt, but also in bureaucratic delays in actually releasing these ODA funds.
Well, bureaucratic delays in developing countries, particularly in Philippines, is a norm. You just have to live with it.
How has the private sector adjusted to this shift towards ODA funding at the expense, perhaps, of conventional public-private partnerships?
Well, for the private sector, in the Philippine setup, I guess the recent growth of projects in terms of the PPP model has created a lot of new infrastructure development, and I think that's where private expertise is coming from. Private sector can drive things more with more flexibility, more accountability, and at a faster speed.
And you've recently led a consortium that's been awarded the Makati Subway Project. So how do you assess the space for unsolicited proposals and the framework in place to allow unsolicited proposals for big infrastructure projects?
Well, this is a game changer, and this is something that will inspire more local conglomerates or foreign groups to look at how they can participate in this 8 trillion build program of the government, and they can take advantage of the current situation. I believe in every crisis there's an opportunity, and in the Philippines at the moment we are almost in chaotic transport delays in terms of implementation of these big transport infrastructure projects. So this is the golden opportunity for us to really maximize or optimize opportunity of participating in the growth through the PPP or through the hybrid PPP or through the bidding process.
Tell us a bit about your own experience with the Makati Subway Project then. How do you think the regulatory environment can be improved to allow more efficient project implementation from unsolicited proposals?
My own experience is, of course, with talking to a local government is a lot faster than talking to a lot of government, national agencies. So I think directly working with an LGU may be a faster route.
A local government unit.
Local government unit, and then you evolve to become a national player on step number 2.
Do you see any logistical difficulties or regulatory difficulties integrating the Makati Subway Project with other transit projects that are being overseen by the national government?
No, I actually would like to really stress that this government is open to foreign investment, and our project, from the start we're planning it in a way that it will sync directly with the national transport network.
And I want to touch on financing issues of infrastructure projects in general. How feasible is it to finance big projects through the Philippine capital markets or through peso-denominated loans that would avoid the foreign exchange risk?
Well, there's enough liquidity in the local market. I guess it's not that difficult to raise local-denominated debt, peso-denominated debt, and the only challenge right now is it's more on the foreign ownership restriction, which allows us, which is actually blocking the entry of more foreign investment. Because for us to raise significant local debt, you need to have the equity component. And with restrictions on the 60-40 rule, then there is a limitation to up to certain there's a certain limitation as to how much equity you can raise, and that is actually creating the obstruction to raise more local currency.
Can you tell us a bit more on the financing model you're looking at for the Makati Subway Project?
Well, the Makati Subway Project would be will be funded through equity infusion from our principal investors, both local and foreign. But bulk will be coming from financing of the EPC contractor.
Going back to the Build program, and we talked a bit about the ODA funding, unsolicited proposals. Often we hear of hybrid public-private partnerships. Do you see perhaps a role for more conventional build, operate, transfer PPPs going forward to help complete the pipeline?
Well, there's all kinds of option available, whether it's a BOT, BT, or BO or BTO. These are
so
all
many acronyms.
Yeah, it's all possible. The key is really on the execution. How do you strike the deal with the government? How do you fast track the necessary steps?
Before you talked about community development, affordable housing. There's a huge affordable housing backlog here in the Philippines. How is infrastructure development going to help in terms of making land available for not just high-end properties, but also affordable housing as well?
Well, more roads, more railways, and more ports will develop more communities. If you notice, out of the 7,107 islands of the Philippine archipelago, only about 2,800 has inhabitants. And all these supposed communities are formed and developed because there is access to river, ports, seaports, or roads, or the railway system, the stations. So the development in terms of having more infrastructure, more roads, more airports, more seaports, more railway station, more subway station, will create more communities, and therefore decongesting the people flocking into the Metro Manila.
I want to finish by asking you for your outlook, basically. How confident are you that this pipeline of big projects in the Philippines will actually come to fruition, and that in the next 4 to 7 years we'll see a much better infrastructure in the country, better connectivity, and by extension, better productivity in the economy as well?
Well, I am very optimistic, and with the government opening more investment opportunity to the Chinese investor, I think there is a lot of windows for further growth in terms of the infrastructure sector, and 4 to 7 years may not necessarily be enough to complete what we need to complete, because the Philippines was technically sleeping for the last 30 years. So we're trying to catch up, and it will take a lot of time and a lot of effort. However, generally speaking, I'm very optimistic.
Excellent. Well, yes, I think the Philippines is definitely wide awake at the moment.
Yes.
So, yes, thank you very much for your insights, and best of luck with the project. And that's all for today's edition of OBG Talk, produced in partnership with the ABS-CBN News Channel. I'm Patrick Cooke, and thanks for watching.